スト翻訳始まるよ。皆さんこんにちは、花です。今日はメダリスト第12話で司のパフォーマンスを見ています。前回は泣きすぎて話せなかった。見てくれてありがとうございます。グッドボタンとチャンネル登録よろしくお願いします。I'm honestly just so excited to watch this again. I'm like looking for an excuse to watch it again, truly. So, first things first, when they mention he reaches top speed super fast, I want to break down really quick. I've broken it down a little bit on the channel, but in case this is your first time watching or you forgot, there are 4 disciplines in figure skating. There is solo men, solo women, pairs, and ice dance. What Tsukasa did when he was competing was ice dance, and ice dance is the odd one out as it does not have jumps and it has minimal spins, I would say. It's more about the edge quality, the speed, the performance, the turns, the twizzles, and the lifts. Ice dancers are inherently better skaters. A way you can tell the difference is if you watch skating on TV, take a look, like really hone in on their boot and their blade. When you watch solo skaters skate, most of them are going to be pretty much on top the entire time. Like the blade is just, it leans side to side a little bit, the boot leans side to side a little bit, but they're pretty straight on top of the blade. That is just like kind of a shallow edge where they're just in their step sequence, they're doing the turns that they have to do in order to get their level, but they're not really strong at deep edges and generating speed quickly. Ice dancers, on the other hand, if you look at their boot, it practically looks like the boot is touching the ice some of the time because of how deep their edge is, and the more lean you have, the harder it is to hold it because you are off your axis of your body, right? So ice dancers are judged a little bit more on the program as a whole because they don't have those jumps. The jumps can make or break a solo skater, and pair skaters also have jumps. And if you go out there and you land every jump and you have difficult jumps and you land them well, and then your skating in between is just kind of meh, you'll still win because your jumps are worth so much more points. But in ice dance, because everything that they're doing has to do with the skating and it's all very evened out, it's way more important that you are foot perfect at all times. So ice dancers generally can generate speed very quickly, which is a very difficult thing to do without moving their feet a lot. And that is because they have mastered controlling the blade so much. They know exactly where to put their weight. They know exactly how deep they need to make their edge so that they can generate enough speed to get into a lift or to get into their first step sequence or whatever with 1 or 2 crossovers. Because the more crossovers you do, the lower your score will be because the judges see that as you need a bunch of crossovers to generate speed. Technically, in solo skating, you should also receive less points the more crossovers you do. There is a conversation to be had about the fact that crossovers can be considered transitional content if done well, but for the most part, crossovers are taught at a very young age, and it's just where when you're going backwards, you like push and you cross your foot over the other, and that is the way you generate speed. So the less you do, the harder it is to gain speed from it. So what Tsukasa is showing right here is he has a smoothness and he has such knowledge of the blade that he can generate top speed after just a few crossovers. Also, just right off the bat, the way they're showing him, I feel like they're even animating it just a little bit different. Like the angles are a little bit different to show off just how smoothly he skates across the ice because of that ice dance. It is very hard to describe the difference in skating skills to someone who maybe doesn't know skating, but I hope that you can kind of understand a little bit more that ice dance is just different because they don't have the jumps to carry their score, so they have to master their blade perfectly. He must be. So it's very common for a skater who grows up watching another skater that's at the Olympics or at Worlds or just on TV in general to kind of adopt a lot of that skater's qualities. Throughout my time when I was skating before now, and still now, kind of, I adopted a lot of Ashley Wagner's style of skating, which she wasn't the most strong skating skills skater, I will say. What she had was the theatrics. Like, she was known as being like the actress of skating. She just skated on flats the entire time. So she had like strengths and weaknesses, but whenever I skated, I was always trying to kind of copy the way she performed because I wanted to be a performer and an actress like her. So it's very common because young skaters who just obsess over the sport, you watch your favorite skater over and 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 over again, and you can't help but then get out on that ice and kind of skate like them. So that's very normal. Very, very common. Also, she mentioned, like, I can't skate like that anymore. The reason I loved Tsukasa so much, because, and I've said this so many times, I relate to him so much. He is just like me. There's just this inherent love for skating. And I don't know if maybe this is telling us that he's like kind of going and he's practicing on his own. He's skating when no one's around. Or if it's just so natural to him, it is so natural to him that he can take a bunch of time off because he doesn't compete anymore and still look like this when he goes out there. It's so personal to me. So we have a flying sit, cannonball, sideways lean, broken leg, and then... So that would be like a level 3 flying sit spin. What he did also, the flying entry to that is not a normal flying entry to a back sit. Most skaters opt to do what we call a death drop here, where you jump up and your legs kind of scissor straight out and then you get into your sit. He kind of did a flying sit entry that I can't even think of a skater who does it. It's not technically wrong, it's just not common, and it's kind of like a loop jump, but you're in the sit position. It's like a flying sit position when you do the flying sit as a forward spin first. And just so y'all know, the difference between a forward spin and a backward spin is not really... I'm not going to get into the extreme details of the difference because that would be way too deep into the technique of skating. But essentially, for the untrained eye, a right-handed skater who always spins counterclockwise, they always spin counterclockwise no matter what. But if they're doing a forward spin, they're spinning on their left foot. If they're doing a backward spin, they're spinning on their right foot. And it's really just a difference in the edge that they're spinning on. But again, I'm not going to get too deep into that because that's very complicated. And then on top of that, he did like a level 3 because he got the cannonball, he got the sideways leaning broken leg, and then he accelerated speed, which is a feature as well. Yeah. It's just so smooth. That's what ice dancers can do. And there's very few solo skaters that can do that just have a natural way of skating. Yeah, he's just moving so everything melts together, and then his fingertips are in the right position. That was called a forward illusion, where you like make your head go straight down to the ice, makes it look like you're about to fall on your face. So it's called an illusion because it gives the illusion that we're gonna fall. So what Ryo just said is that could his skating be actually better than Jun? And this is where I say yes. So very few solo skaters. Yuzuru Hanyu is like one of the only ones I can think of that had skating skills that were natural like an ice dancer. Like let's take, presently we have, I don't really want to use Ilya Malinin as an example because personally I love him because like I'm biased towards him because I'm American, but his skating needs major work. He just goes out and does the most difficult jumps by a lot got, which is great, that even if he got the component scores that he technically deserves, he would still be winning because his technical element score is just so much higher than everyone else. It's kind of insane. I'm gonna use Yuma Kageyama because he is a present skater who, in my opinion, is the full package skater. His skating skills are incredible. He has good deep knee bend, beautiful jumps. He just doesn't have as high level difficulty of his jumps, so he can't catch Ilya unless Ilya makes a ton of mistakes. I don't remember where I was going with this. I think it was because Ryo mentioned that he thinks that Tsukasa's skating skills are better than Jun. And reminder that Tsukasa never even medaled at nationals, while Jun is, I think, an Olympic medalist. Please remind me. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what he got. I mean, let's look at Zachary Laga from the Canadian team of ice dance that comes in like 4th, 5th place usually. Zach Laga could probably majorly outskate Yuma Kageyama. He could absolutely outskate Ilya Malinin. Malinin. I've changed the way I pronounce his name because I never know how to say it. I don't remember how he pronounced it himself. I would listen to it. Anyway, tangent. A bunch of ice dancers that you maybe have never heard about because ice dance is so different. They've maybe never medaled. They could outskate Olympic medalists in solo skating. Even not being world champs at ice dance means you could still have better skating skills than Olympic world medalists. That's how good ice dancers are at the fundamental, like the foundational skating. That's how good they are at it. They would outskate Olympic medalists. They would outskate Nathan Chen. They would outskate Yuma Kageyama. Some of them could probably outskate Yuzuru Hanyu, and I don't say that lightly. That's how much work they put into their skating skills. On top of that, he just did a jump. So it really, the way the animation works really looks like a double axel. It's kind of hard when you're watching. I guess you could say that was a single axel. I guess it said it in the manga. This is a part of anime where it's like, it's sometimes hard to call the rotations just because of the angles and everything and the way that it's animated. But that apparently was a single axel, which is still impressive for an ice dancer. I, of course, switched to solo ice dance in my last season, which I never got to the level of like what I'm talking about with ice dancers that are at the senior level, by the way. Obviously, I did that season and then I stopped skating for a while. If I went out there right now, if I tried a single axel, I would hurt myself. I'm gonna have to ease into it. But to me, again, this just shows that Tsukasa is just naturally gifted, naturally talented, and it just makes it so sad because his story is of someone who should have made it in the world of figure skating because he is a very special skater. But because he started so late, because he didn't have the people to believe in him, he never got there. And it's really sad. Got a flying camel with a difficult entry. So I think this will be my final comment before I finish and I start crying again. But ice dance is also, you have to be so aware of everything. This is something I never had to experience as a solo ice dancer because as a solo ice dancer, I didn't have a partner, right? The thing with ice dancing is if you just accidentally make one tiny little trip or one tiny step, everything is ruined. One thing that happened a lot this year in ice dance over like the Grand Prix, we saw a lot of our top teams, like actually the top 3 teams, which are Madison Chalk and Evan Bates from the US, Piper Gills and Paul Poirier from Canada, and Charlene Guinard and Marco Fabri from Italy. We saw all 3 of them make a major mistake at least one of their Grand Prix. And for a few of them, that one person falling meant that the other person fell or that the other person couldn't keep doing the steps that they were doing. So you had to be foot perfect because you have a partner and your skates could be this close to each other. So if you're both doing like all these complicated moves with your skates, you have to be a long along with each other as you turn. And if you have to go the other direction that's choreographed, you have to kind of pull away a little bit, all that kind of stuff. So let's say like you're just doing 2 1-foot glides next to each other and one person falters and goes like this, the other person's going down. So it is literally so meticulous with ice dance. You have to be foot perfect at all times. And that's what makes it difficult, because people think ice dance isn't difficult because they don't jump, right? But the fact that so many of these ice dance teams can go out competition after competition and be absolutely foot perfect the entire time is insane, because ice is slippery and blades are sharp and tiny. It is so easy to just skate forward and wobble a little bit, even when you're really good at skating. So her comment about it being a 3-leg race is actually really cool, because yes, like you have to be foot perfect and it's like you're connected to the other person. You make a mistake, they do too, and it is completely going to be a disaster for you. So being aware of your partner also makes you more aware of your blade, of your skating in general, and it all works together. Yep, exactly. You can't even perform the most basic stuff if there's a big gap. Who deserved a lot more than what he got. Oh, man. Incredible. I think that's all I really wanted to talk about in this one, was just trying to explain to you ice dance and how wonderful of skaters ice dancers are and how much work goes into being a good ice dancer. But also, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think Tsukasa was an ice dancer for that long for him to be able to manage what he did. Now, 4th place at nationals in the US in ice dance is incredibly good, because ice dance in the US is our strongest discipline. I mean, Madison Chalk and Evan Bates are the reigning 2-time world champions. They win 2024 and 2015. Yeah. They are the reigning 2-time world champions. We had, of course, Merrill Davis and Charlie White, who are Olympic champions. We had Tanith Belbin and Ben Augusto, who are Olympic medalists. Ice dance has always been our most successful, and it's always been our deepest field. You could have some really, really talented ice dancers who could probably be top 10 in the world, not make it to Worlds because they came in 7th at nationals here. In Japan, I know it's different. I know right now they only have like 2 or 3 teams at the senior level competing, and they only have, I think one of them goes to nationals because it's just one of the disciplines that they're working to develop right now. So that's a little bit like 4th at nationals in Japan feels a lot different than 4th at nationals in the US, but I think they're just kind of considering ice dance to have like 12 teams in this version of Japan nationals. So he worked really hard in a very short period of time to get there, when ice dance can be something that just takes so long. You have to have that natural gifted ability, like I've talked about with Yuzuru Hanyu, in order to be able to manage, because like I did ice dance for a year and my skating skills definitely improved, but not anywhere to be like people notice how smooth of a skater I am. So anyway, I hope this was informational. I feel like these videos are turning more and more into like just me completely rambling because I'm just so passionate about skating. My dog just unplugged my light. Mika, you ruin it for me here.
それでは今日出てきた英単語を振り返ってみましょう。
Inherently。
この単語は本質的には生まれつきという意味で、ある性質や特徴が最初から備わっていることを表します。対象の持つ性格や構造そのものに根ざしている場合に使われます。例えば、本質的に危険、根本的に欠陥があるといった形でよく使われます。こちらがその英単語を使った例文です。
The system is inherently unfair to smaller businesses.
このシステムは本質的に中小企業に不利である。
Humans are inherently social creatures.
人間は本質的に社会的な生き物である。司先生にはスケートの持って生まれた才能があったみたいですね。ただスタートが遅かっただけに本腰を入れてコーチをしてくれる人も見つからなかったという過去があると思うと悲しくなっちゃいます。
Make or break.
この表現はある行動や要素が成功か失敗かを決定づけることを意味します。ビジネス、試合、決断など結果を大きく左右する重要な場面で使われます。 こちらがその英単語を使った例文です。
This deal could make or break the company.
この取引は会社の命運を左右するかもしれない。
It's a make or break moment for the team.
チームにとっての正念場だ。司先生も今回の演技ではリチカバチカの技をやっていましたね。それがシングルアクセルだったか、フライングキャメルスピンだったか何でしたっけ。まあ、とにかく、イチカバチカのことをやっていましたね。
Accelerate.
この単語は、スピードや進行を加速させるまたは速めることを意味します。車や動きの速度だけでなく、計画やプロジェクト、変化の進行にも使われます。こちらがその英単語を使った例文です。
The car accelerated quickly on the highway.
車は高速道路で素早く加速した。
We need to accelerate the development of new technologies.
新しい技術の開発を加速させる必要がある。アイスダンスの選手はブレードの使い方が上手なので、最小回数のクロスオーバーでトップスピードまで加速することができるらしいですね。男性が速くても褒められる数少ない場面。いえ、なんでもありません。
Ease into.
この表現は、新しい環境や状況にゆっくりと入っていく、徐々に慣れることを意味します。急に始めるのではなく、自然なペースで慣れていくことを表す優しい表現です。こちらがその英単語を使った例文です。
She eased into her new job over the first few weeks.
彼女は最初の数週間で新しい仕事に徐々に慣れていった。
Let's ease into the topic before diving into the details.
詳細に入る前に、ゆっくりとその話題に入っていこう。フィギュアスケートのブランクがある時にいきなりジャンプをすると怪我をしてしまうそうですね。いきなり飛ぶのではなく、体を慣らさないといけないのだとか、何事も無理は禁物ってことですかね。
Falter.
この単語は、足取りや声がよろめく、ためらうまたは気持ちが弱気になることを意味します。自信を失ったり、不安や恐れで動きが鈍るときに使われます。こちらがその英単語を使った例文です。
His voice faltered as he began to speak.
彼が話し始めると声が震えた。
The team faltered in the final moments of the game.
チームは試合の終盤に動きが鈍ってしまった。アイスダンスのペアは動きがシンクロしてるので、一方が転んでしまうともう片方の選手も転んでしまうんだそうですね。まさに一心同体の存在で、なんだかラクエリオンみたいですね。体はありません。
Meticulous.
この単語は、細部にまで気を配る非常に注意深い、几帳面なという意味の形容詞です。完璧さを求める人や慎重な作業をする人に対してよく使われます。こちらがその英単語を使った例文です。
She is meticulous about organizing her workspace.
彼女は作業スペースの整理に関して非常に几帳面だ。
The artist created the piece with meticulous attention to detail.
その芸術家は細部までこだわって作品を作り上げた。アイスダンスは指先からブレードの使い方まで細かな動きが要求されるフィギュアスケートの種目ですね。この動画シリーズで何回も同じようなことを言った気がしますが、多分気のせいですね。
Improve.
この単語は状況や能力、物事などを改善する、良くすることを意味します。小さな進歩から大きな成長までポジティブな変化全般に使える非常に便利な単語です。 こちらがその英単語を使った例文です。
I've been working hard to improve my English skills.
英語のスキルを向上させるために一生懸命取り組んでいる。
The weather has improved since this morning.
今朝から天気が良くなってきた。アイスダンスをするとスケートの技術が向上するらしいですね。人間どんな時でも何かしらの成長をしたいものです。私もこの後ジムと格闘技の練習に行きます。人生は鍛錬の連続ですね。